Bernie Sanders weighed in on the issue of the war in Afghanistan, and this is one of the very few issues where he let me down. It was a swing and a miss. The Huffington Post reports, quote, Bernie said Sunday that he supports Obama's decision to keep troops in Afghanistan, prolonging the war beyond 2016. Obama announced last week that he would keep 5,500 U.S. troops in Afghanistan after he leaves office in 2017, breaking his promise to end the war during his tenure. During an interview on ABC's This Week, George Stephanopoulos asked Sanders whether he backs keeping U.S. troops in the country, and he said, quote, well, yeah, I won't give you the exact number. Clearly, we do not want to see the Taliban gain more power, and I think we need a certain nucleus of American troops present in Afghanistan to try to provide the training and support the Afghan army needs. What is victory, though, Bernie? That's my question. Because we're so sick and tired of it. I mean, when we started the war on terror, there were some specific goals, and what would be victory was understood generally throughout the country. Like, for example, in Afghanistan, the idea was, hey, Al-Qaeda is being housed by the Taliban, so we need to just go in there, knock out Al-Qaeda, and then we're done. Well, mission accomplished on that. But we stayed there longer afterwards, which means that you lied to us when you said the original goal is what it is, which is knocking out Al-Qaeda. That's not true because you're still there. So it's false. What you told us is not correct. That wasn't the real reason for going in. Because according to our CIA, just for the record here, we have 100 or less Al-Qaeda operatives still in Afghanistan, but we're still fighting there. And then when people bring up, well, yeah, I mean, but the Taliban sucks, doesn't it, Kyle? What are you defending the Taliban? Of course I'm not fucking defending the Taliban, but when you have a foreign policy, you have to have a criteria by which you make these decisions, and you say we're going to go fight in place X or region Y, and if your only reason is the Taliban sucks, therefore we need to stay there and occupy there and do all these other things, well then you also have to go and fight Boko Haram, you also have to go and fight Al-Shabaab, you also have to go and fight other jihadist organizations wherever they may be. You also have to go and fight non-religious terrorists. You have to go into the other war-torn regions like South Sudan and the Congo. You have to be involved in many different places if your standard is, these guys are bad, we need to stop them from doing X, Y, and Z. Well, if that really is your goal, why don't you start with not supporting monsters? Because we know that we support many monsters all around the world. And not only are we not having a conversation about going in there and knocking them out, we're supporting them. We're helping them. And so it's not even like a neutral thing where, hey, you know, world's a crazy place. I can't stop everything bad. Let's not, you know, get involved. No, we're like Saudi Arabia, for example, a Wahhabi government that they implement brutally repressive policies against virtually all minority communities. And, you know, they kill people for drug smuggling and they kill people for apostasy, and atheism is listed as, if you're an atheist, you're listed as a terrorist in Saudi Arabia, and we're actively supporting those people. So it's not about humanitarianism and altruism. There are ulterior motives here. But Bernie seems to have fallen for this hook, line, and sinker. Why would we say that? What's the goal? What's your goal? Why are you still there? Well, again, we don't want the Taliban to take over. There's a lot of bad people taking over a lot of different places, but you're focused in still staying in Afghanistan. I don't want to spend the money to still be there. And the American people don't want to be there anymore either, and there's not a direct threat against the U.S. homeland coming from there, so let's get the fuck out of there. And to this idea that, well, I mean, it's like our side is in favor of a utopia there, and the bad guys are so bad that we have to, stay there for the forces of good to prevail. Our side in Afghanistan rapes kids. That's not hyperbole. That's a fact. We covered the story on the show. The New York Times had a great investigative report. There were like a couple of U.S. soldiers who lost their shit and left Afghanistan because they said, how can I fight in a war where the Afghan soldiers on our side are raping children? There was a story about how one of the top warlords who was on our side against the Taliban had a kid chained to his fucking bed when a U.S. soldier went in there to talk to him. And they were ordered by higher-ups in the military, let them do what they do. It's a different culture. So you gotta let them do what they do. And remember, you're there to protect liberty and freedom. The liberty and freedom to fuck kids? No, it's a clusterfuck. Bernie, you're better than this. You're smarter than this. I mean, and you're the guy who always talks about democracy and listening to the people. The war in Afghanistan right now is less popular than the war in Vietnam was at its most unpopular point. So there's no debate here. There's no conversation here. What are you talking about? And, but they're afraid, when we pull out, it'll get worse, and then what are we going to do about it? I don't care. I don't care. In the same way that we're not fucking clamoring to go into South Sudan or the Congo, I feel bad if it gets even worse in those areas. But I'm done playing world policeman, especially when we know that we're not even playing world policeman to uphold any kind of values. We're not doing that. The record is pretty clear. We were more involved in Iraq for oil, for example, for the military-industrial complex and profits. What we do around the world has much more to do with imperialism and geopolitics and a global chessboard and a power struggle than any kind of, high-minded ideals. And when we talk about Afghanistan, we're talking about a mineral-rich country and a country that has a tremendous amount of opium. Is that the sole reason why we're there? No. But is that a part of it? Absolutely. I mean, we've covered the story on the show where U.S. soldiers are defending poppy fields, where opium comes from, for people in Afghanistan. Why are you defending it? I mean, isn't the whole thing, war on drugs, we're against drugs so much, except for when we're protecting them in a foreign country that we shouldn't be in the first place. Guys, so much of this doesn't add up, and it just doesn't make sense. And I'm tired of going around the world and being involved in all these different conflicts. The only time I would use the military is to protect from an imminent attack against the nation. If there's a genocide happening somewhere and it's perfectly clear, well then okay, the international community can act together. But I expect the same of us that I expect from every other country in the world, whether it's Iran or Greenland or Australia. I don't want to go on these fucking wild adventures where we're involved in 7 different countries right now, militarily. No, that's not... If I'm voting for a liberal, that shouldn't be the choice I have. Either you invade every country ever with the crazy warhawk Republicans who want to put ground troops everywhere, or you go soft imperialism with people like Obama and Hillary, and to some extent Bernie, where, you just do some drone strikes here and there and some airstrikes. We keep 5,000 or 10,000 troops in your country because fuck off, that's why. No, I'm done. I'm done with that. Where are the candidates that say, how about this? I don't want to be anywhere militarily at the moment. How about that? Is that radical? Oh, radical Kyle. He doesn't want to be involved in any wars while there's not a direct threat against us at the moment. No, that used to be called common sense, and somewhere along the line, we lost our way.